So here we have it, the rare beast that are Dainichi Sanke. All of these fish come from the M. Sanke junior lineage, which M. Sanke has been the prominent established Sanke bloodline at Dainichi for as long as I can remember. Quite rare to get any quantity of offspring. It does depend year on year. Last year, for example, I can't really remember seeing any, one or two at most. This year they have been in ample supply, and yeah, I lapped up as many as I could because really interesting, like I say, not easy to get hold of Sanke from this farm. Good Sanke in general tend to be tough. I hear it a lot that people don't understand Sanke, which is a reason that puts them off a lot. There are a lot of different styles, which you can even see in this bowl just from looking, and their sort of development path can throw a few curveballs that, you know, would scare people if you didn't really know what was happening, and might make them reluctant to spend any serious money on one. Again, body power, big thing with Dainichi Sanke. We see different lines. It's not quite the seriously intense power. I mean, you know, height of Sakai Sanke, for example, but nonetheless, yeah, they're not. They're imposing. They're very strong, powerful beasts. So we can see, you know, like I say, a mixed range of fish in this bowl, and it's also demonstrating the sort of size problem that I've got in the pond at the minute, which we'll work through. It's not a big deal. It just might mean that probably in this case the small ones might miss out if they do stay in the pond with these bigger fish, but they will still grow, and they'll grow to a substantial size. I had it last year, and it actually surprised me how some of the smaller ones really did catch up. More so than I would expect from other lineages. Just the genetics in these things, they just want to grow. Phenomenal fish. We can see again all the typical traits, the benny quality, skin quality, overall absolutely gleaming, looking pristine. Sumi quality, I mean, we look at this one, this is probably the most interesting fish to start with, because I think there'll be people questioning Sanke or Showa with that one. Definitely Sanke. And the sort of sumi style, the heavy sumi style that can be typical of Dainichi Sanke as well. But if you actually look at the quality of it, and you look at that there behind the head, absolute ink. It is superb, absolutely top notch. And I'm a big fan of this heavier styled, heavier sumid Sanke. When they come together, you get the size and they hold it well. They look incredible. Likewise, it can be a very fine balance, and they can sort of tip over that edge quite easily, where they do just look awful and pretty messy. But we'll see where that one heads. Right now, it's looking promising. The quality is so good. We'll wait and see. We'll move on to this one here. This is actually one of my Wakigoi prize winners. The sumi has softened a bit in the heat on this one at the moment, but that's absolutely fine. Really keen. I mean, the Subo sumi on this, where it's sitting on the shiroji, is what really appeals, especially this shoulder sumi here. You can even see, even though it's faded off, the sumi's got really nice sashi, helping to indicate the potential depth that sumi's actually going to have, and did sort of show before the heat got to it a little bit. And that, I think that's a bit of a hybrid in between that one. As it grows, you would say that's quite heavily sumid, but as it grows, that's going to sit. There's going to be a nice amount of shiroji present, because there's obviously the Subo sumi. And would we class that as heavily sumid? Too much? I don't think so. I just think that's a nice all-round sort of traditional style of Sanke, that one. And yeah, size is going to be its friend for sure. Then we move on to the likes of this one. A little bit of a different, I'm seeing a bit of a mixture of sumi styles in these, to be honest with you. This one is the more, I've spoke about this in previous videos, with the sort of sumi that develops in the top of the skin. A lot lighter in sumi already, and we can see areas, this is just cropping up out of nowhere, and is eventually going to form blocks of sumi. That's a really interesting fish. I think people can be a bit scared to buy Sanke like this, but in my experience, having seen that already, how that's performing, there's going to be a hell of a sumi pattern there eventually with that fish, and I'm going to be excited to watch its development as we go on. Then, yeah, two here which can sort of highlight the curveball that Sanke can throw you, and a term you may or may not heard in the past called baby sumi. This is when the sort of intense growing and the heat can get to them a little bit. That is now that fish there. So we can already see there's been a huge drop off in the sumi. which is completely normal, not something I'm panicked by or phased by in the slightest. All the quality's still there, can see that. It's just sumi that can present at a young age in Sanke, then drop off as it grows, and that'll re-establish itself later in life. It'll be a slower process, but when it comes up, quality's going to be high. It's going to look really, really good, really inky black. And it can be a time-consuming process. I'd expect to see some resurgence in that by this winter, but it could be 2 or 3 years before that gets back to anything like its former glory. And it's not always guaranteed to come back in the same places either. So a little bit of a gamble, but like I say, I'm not alarmed. I know that fish is going to do the business. It's a really, really great piece, and we'll see where it heads. And then the second one is this one, not quite so severe. Excited to see what this one's going to achieve, but that's now this fish here. You can see already that sumi's dropped off. We can still see it sat underneath the skin. It's there, it's not gone too far. In some breeders that really does sort of vanish, but I think the way this is rooted in the skin, that is deep, intense sumi that's there, it's going to be predictable, I think, in how it comes through. And in that fish, not too, I don't think the time scale is going to be all that long either, I'd like to think, but when I say that, we still could be talking a couple of years, in all honesty. But that is Sanke. Like I say, this bowl does represent a diverse range, all from the same parent set. So many different things, sumi types going on, processes playing out slightly differently. Koi are not always straightforward, you know, bloodlines can give you some level of predictability in knowing the genetics, what they could do with size, sumi quality, sumi styles, things like that, but not every offspring will develop all of those characteristics in the same way. The offspring will differ considerably. I've had a bit of a size check up on the certs again. These have averaged sort of 2-3 centimetres of growth since they've been with me, so it's time to get the foot on the gas with them now as well. This is another one not looked at yet. Absolutely, this was just one of those fish again. There's no way I was prepared to let this one go. Lovely balance to it, Benny quality, sort of like 4-step Benny pattern going on. Lovely kiwa to refine as it gets bigger. Nice bit of odormate at the back. The potential sumi pattern looks really, really strong as well. Really excited to see where that one heads, and I expect that's going to be a considerable size Nisai by the autumn as well. So yeah, won't look too much more into them. Just enjoy seeing where they're at now, and yeah, we'll catch up with them, you know, towards the end of the year and see what the results are. These are going to be a learning curve for me. All the information at the minute I've sort of given you is based on my experience with Sanke in general. Never had Dainichi Sanke, so yeah, let's see how they play out, and yeah, see what the autumn brings.